Quantum Leap, Let Light Unite show on UPRN Radio. And actually, we're also on iHeart. You want to check us out, and we're also on SoundCloud if you want to check out any of the old shows. And got a really good show for you tonight. I've got a special guest, Neil Walker, coming on, and we're going to talk about mental health and nature versus nurture, and how we live our lives and develop ways to creating a new way forward in life. And we're all going to cram that in an hour. Pretty cool. Don't forget, we've got World Enlightenment, August 21st on the solar eclipse. And guys, if you don't have this on your refrigerator, please get it on. All we want you to say on that day is, may divine enlightenment descend on everyone now. May divine enlightenment awaken within everyone now. And you can also go to the Enlightenment movement website, and it's actually enlightenmentmovement2016.shutterfly.com, and sign up. You know, we put all the daily prayers on there, the energy work we need to help shift. And guys, oh my God, if you don't think we're not making headway, do you remember that power prayer we did quite a few times about putting Trump on timeout? Well, after his little Twitter fiasco that he went after another woman, surprise, all these really cool women Democrats stood up to say how wrong he was. And you know you're making headways is when they use your words that you use in energy work. So when they say, Donald Trump, it's time for a presidential timeout. And, you know, what's the name of the one power prayer we do? Putting Trump on presidential timeout. You know, the energy is getting out there. So I want to congratulate you guys. You know, you're awesome. Thank you for joining in and doing the work. We are making an impact. Well, welcome, Neil.
Hi, Cathy. Great to be here. Real pleasure.
Neil, can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
A little bit. You've only got an hour, but so basically, I'm based in the UK. I live in Windsor. The Queen's my next door neighbour. She's only 15 minutes away from me. I spent around about 30 years in business at senior management level. And about 2 years ago, I had a complete change. I realised that my life wasn't going in the direction it should be. So I retrained as a business coach and a life coach. But from that, I sort of grew into taking my skills and my experiences into helping people on a more individual basis. And that's when I sort of evolved into working more heavily in the mental health sector. And I work with a business partner. She's actually a Reiki master, and I've worked with her, and she's done some of her magic on me. So I've kind of changed the way that before I was very much into business, not really living a fulfilled life, missing a great deal. And I decided to change and focus on creating a better life for myself, which in turn meant that I could create a better life for other people. So I've been doing that now for the past 3 years, and helped an awful lot of people. I've spent time working with people, probably in the thousands now, on an individual basis and in groups as well. And more recently,
let me ask. Go ahead.
More recently, we set up it's called the Mental Health Centre, because mental health became such an important issue for me. A lot of my clients, I had 3 suicides last year, which I managed to stop, which made me really focus my energies into that area and that aspect. And with my business partner, Beverly Roberts, we decided, no, we need to do something about this and focus on really bringing mental health to the forefront.
Well, my question, and I agree with you, and that's why I asked you to come on. When I saw you were working in mental health, I went, oh my God, I got to get this man on, right? Have you noticed with the air, we're having higher radiation because of Fukushima. We're going into year 6, year 7, unstopped. Have you noticed how people are really losing it a little bit more?
It's becoming, for me, it's becoming, I use the word worrying, but I think a lot of issues are coming to the fore, and people's mental health is tipping over. I only had an incident 2 days ago where I was actually visiting somewhere, and a man in his 50s suddenly started behaving peculiar. And I had to step in and deal with him. And it's just, it's more and more in life you'll see what we take as, previously I would have just said, oh, that's a person acting particularly peculiar. But now because I understand mental health that much better, I'm able to actually step in and help somebody, a complete stranger, and get them. He's now in hospital now. Unfortunately,
Yeah.
he was psychotic. So,
Do you
I think it's more and more. Yeah, absolutely.
ever even take in consideration that some of these guys can be tipped into not acting correctly? Better way to put it, because of frequencies that are being directed and different frequencies that are going out that people are not even aware, to the point where, it can tip people into suicide. If you're on that border and they zap you with the right frequency,
I
you know,
think
you,
I think yes, yeah. There are so many elements to why people are sort of, certainly in the mental health side, tipping into that. I work with a core of everything I do. I work on what I call the 6 human needs. We do everything because of those 6 human needs. We give them different reasons or different stories behind why we do the things we do. And that's the sort of title of my book that I'm writing and coming out next year. Is these 6 things are the core behind everything, every action, every decision, everything that we do in our lives, but we value them in different ways. And I think there's so many things now impacting people's lives. And the planet is a finite thing. It's giving out, and I'm a believer that if you what you do to something, you will get back in tenfold. And in terms of the planet, what we do to the planet, I think we're starting to get the effects back of everything we did maybe 100 years ago.
I'm going to just step back a little bit because you brought up a word maybe most people aren't really understanding, and that's, can you describe what Reiki is?
Reiki is a far Eastern um, sort of treatment, if you like. I call it treatment, but it's all to do with the energy inside, and bringing that energy out of the body. And my business partner Beverly Roberts, she basically she lays her hands on parts of your body and can heal through her hands. It's quite amazing. And puts her hands on your head, and she uses energy, the earth's energy, to actually bring out and create karma within the body, within the mind. She's a huge advocate of group energy, and she'll send out messages. She uses the power of Reiki to send out messages of positivity and to create people a better life. And it's an amazing aspect. I'm not 100% in there, but Beverly and I, we balance out each other extremely well, because she is very, very spiritually centered, and she does her thing with me when I need it, and luckily it's not very often that I need it, but she uses her Reiki master skills on me, and just recenters things, and gives you that spiritual sort of fulfillment.
Well, it sounds between the two of you that you heal body, mind, and soul.
That's the way we look at it. Absolutely. We're a really good match, because when I went into the sort of mental health, Beverly and I were speaking at an event, and then we sat down afterwards and said, actually, we've got something here that we can both work on. and we can give back a lot more if we do it together. And that's where the whole mental health approach became so much more important to both of us. And it is a good balance. I'm in my background, my skills and everything, I'm much more direct. And when it comes to me doing training with people, so I run training programs on mental health, and I'll have directors of companies, and they'll say, "No, I want you to do the training, Neil, because that's the kind of people we like." Whereas other people tend to like Beverly's softer approach, and we work really well because it does be, as you say, body, mind, soul, the whole thing. We kind of cover that off. So yeah, it's become more and more important to us, the whole mental health aspect, and we do a great deal of work in there to try and raise the awareness. And it's unfortunate. It's on our TVs here in the UK pretty much every day. It's on the radio every day. And I could go back 10 years ago, you would never have heard of the word mental health 10 years ago. So getting it out there, talking about it, letting people talk about it themselves, it's a step forward. And then, as I say, I use my approach, my skills, my knowledge in one way. And Beverly, she's very much more. Her is more holistic, more spiritual in her approach to doing things. But when we combine the two, yeah, it's absolutely fantastic.
Well, you've got a mental health training course. I got two questions. What kind of people take your course? I mean, can the average person off the street come in, to get training? And how long of a course is it?
So we do two types. So basically, yeah, we have the one that we go to businesses, and we'll sit people, key people, personnel within a business on the course. But we also run it for what I call Joe Public. So they can come and attend the course at my offices in Windsor. So it's a day. It's only a day because we designed it specifically to get the message over very, very quickly. And we hit the key points. What we say is that if you find that you're dealing with somebody with psychosis, you've missed everything else before. Everything comes in stages in mental health. So you can go from having anxiety, whether it be in your personal life or whether it be in the workplace, that can lead to depression. When you have depression, that can lead to alcohol, it can lead to drugs. It can then lead further down, and that's when the whole body starts to sort of break down. So what we try and do is get in early. We talk about prevention and intervention. We try and get people so that they can recognize something, the early stages, rather than dealing with or trying to cure somebody. And I use the word cure very loosely. Rather than trying to get further down the line, trying to do that side of things, we try and say, right, look for the signs before, look for what's happening in their personal life, how they're behaving, how they look, how they're dressing, because things can change very quickly, and it all starts right back with an anxiety attack, or that feeling of I can't go to work today because, okay, well, what is that because? And that's where in our training I use what I call the 6 human needs, and why we do everything that we do, because that when we get to and understand that, you can then understand mental health so much better, not only in other people, but more importantly in yourself.
Well, can you touch, briefly on what the 6 human needs are?
Okay, so the 6 human needs, you've got, the first one is certainty, because we all love to have certainty in our lives. And people get certainty in different ways. Some people may get certainty by praying to God. Some people may get certainty by the amount of money that they've got in their bank account. But certainty is that feeling of security. And so that's kind of the first one. It's a core one. The thing is, in life, if we knew everything that was going to happen of every minute of every day, in the beginning, that would be quite cool. But after a period of time, it would get really boring. So we like uncertainty or variety. And as they say, variety is the spice of life. So that variety can come in the unknown, the risk. And so you've got those two opposites. The third one is significance. So people who have or do things in their lives that gives them that feeling of significance. I would say putting on a radio show is not something that everybody would do. But that putting on a radio show could give you a feeling of significance. But the other one it can also give you is that feeling of connection and love, connecting with other people. So that's the fourth human need, that need to connect with other people, that needs to be part of a group. And then the last, so those four are what are basically your makeup of everything that you do. The last two are really about what you have to do in personal growth. So growth, because if you're not growing as a person, if you're not growing as a business, you're basically dying. So growth is important, learning and developing yourself and your skills. Then the final one is fulfillment, and that's giving back. That's about giving back to people, giving back to your community, giving back to a group, being more. So that's a very quick run through of the 6 human needs. The thing about them is people value them in different ways. So, for example, when I spoke to my wife and I said to her, okay, I'm going to write down what I think you value the most out of the 6 human needs. And she said, she sort of, I did that. And she said, okay, fire away. What do you think they are? So I said, I think that you love and connection is your key one. And the second one is variety. And I said, those are the 2 most important to you. She said, yes, they are. My wife has spent 35 years as a nurse. So those 2 human needs fulfill her, and they fulfill what she's done in her career. Now, a banker, for example, wouldn't have connection and love as a key human need for what they do. Theirs is more about significance and about certainty, and a little bit of variety, because that gives a little risk factor. The thing about the six human needs, when you do any activity, if so, for example, on a mental health side of things, substance abuse, so drugs and alcohol, taking drugs and alcohol will fulfill somebody's human needs. So you can get with alcohol, and I know this from experience, because one of the things I didn't tell you is that I was an alcoholic for 30 years. So I kind of know my subject matter on that side of things. So with alcohol, you get a feeling of certainty. It gives you that feeling of certainty because you feel like you're unstoppable. Variety, because you never know what's going to happen, and significance, because usually when you drink too much, you're the center of attention. So alcohol can give you that kind of feeling. So if one activity, so drinking alcohol, fulfills 3 of your human needs, that's how you become addicted. And it's the same with anything else, whether it be smoking, whether it's food, or whether it's even the job that I do. I'm addicted to what I do because what I do fulfills all 6 of my human needs. So that's got me, I'm in there 100%, because I get certainty because I know my subject. I get variety because I meet thousands of people and the different stories with different things and different ways of helping them. I get significance because when I do things, I'm the center of attention, and I'm a bit like that. And then love and connection, I connect with every single person in the room. I connect with every single person that I deal with. And then I grow because I'm constantly renewing my knowledge and my skills. And then fulfillment, I give back to the people that I work with in so much that every Christmas I do I go into a community where the families who can't feed themselves, and we do a food basket. I think in the US, the guys do it in the US on Thanksgiving, where we haven't got a Thanksgiving here in the UK, so we do it at Christmas time. So 2 days before Christmas, we go in. Last year, we did 300 meals in a particular area of London. So that's that. I give back on that. So what I do covers all 6 of my human needs, and it fulfills it 100%. And when you understand how the 6 human needs can be worked into your life, you can start to see what's important to other people. And a good example of that is if you've got 2 people in a relationship and one of those people, certainty is an absolute must. They have to know everything, every minute of every day. And you've got somebody who is the core for them is variety, that uncertainty. If you put those 2 people together in a relationship, it's not going to last, because they value different things. There might be sparks at the beginning, but ultimately it won't last because they value those human needs in different ways. So for me, the human needs are the core for every single thing that we do, every decision we make, the careers that we make, the relationships we get into, the way that we live our lives. And that if you, and then everything grows from those 6 human needs. If you have, the way I talk to people in our training programs is that the first question I ask is, who would describe themselves as being honest? And most people, 99.9% of the time, everybody puts their hand up and say, yeah, I feel honest. And I say, okay, how many of you have told a lie? And you actually get into it and you say, well, yeah, I've told a lie, a little white lie. So honesty, people see themselves as being very honest, and that's their value. They value honesty. Whereas somebody who commits fraud or who's a criminal doesn't value honesty at all. So this is where we look at the 6 human needs and we say, okay, well, where do you value the 6 human needs? What is more important to you? Which is higher on the list to the way that you live your life? And if I mentioned Beverly, I've talked to Beverly. I've said to Beverly, okay, I know that love and connection is the core. That's the number one priority to you out of your human need. That connection and love feeling. And variety is a other. Whereas, as I say, if you go to a banker or something like that, they're going to have completely opposite kind of values, and which one is the most important to them if you put them in a list of one to 6. So they are really important to us, and when you get to understand them, and it's part of our mental health program that we do, that's where we start. Because when you understand why we do the things we do, once you start getting into the mental health thing, you start to realize, well, I eat too much food because I'm overweight, or I have anorexia because. Why is the because? And when you actually look and see how they're living their lives through the 6 human needs, they suddenly, the because they sort of is looked at in a completely different way. I've got 4 girls that have got anorexia, and I've got 1 guy who's anorexic as well. And within 4 weeks, these people are now starting to improve. Yet they've been in treatment for 2 or 3 years. There was a horrific story here last year. A young girl, she'd spent a year in a priory, completely changed. And I've posted pictures of her because the change in her is just amazing. Going from such a beautiful girl to basically a skeleton. And she spent a year in a priory clinic, came out, and within 5 days she committed suicide. Because they didn't get to the reason, they were trying to treat her with chemicals. And I'm a huge advocate of the need for not taking chemicals when it comes to mental health. That's my personal opinion. It's a thing within the sort of the psychiatric and psychology sort of industry that you're either for a chemical-based treatment or you're not. And I'm in the not based side of things, because I don't believe that chemicals can cure something that is happened to you 20 years ago or 5 years ago or last year. It's like me giving you an aspirin for a headache today for the headache that you had last week. I'm very much more, you have to get down to the core of what a problem is, how you can resolve it, how you can create a better life for that person, how that person can start seeing their life. Their view of the world is completely different. And you have to get into what their view of the world is, find out what it is, and start to get them to see that actually I need to change the window I'm looking out of, and create a better life. And that can be done through different means. Once you understand what their priority is, what they value more as a person, in terms of their human needs, what's fulfilling them. Do they need risk? No. Do they need comfort, love, and connection? Yes, they do. So how do we go about creating something that enables them to get that back into their lives that's maybe missing? If somebody needs control, so certainly with people who self-harm, that's all about taking control. It's not about trying to hurt themselves. It's a control thing. And when people self-harm, they're tending to look for something to control. So say, okay, what can we put into their human needs? What can we find that fulfills them? And then once we found that tends to be what we focus on, to find out what's important, and that stops them taking control by hurting themselves, by cutting themselves.
That just makes sense.
I hope so.
But as you're talking about this, I'm thinking, oh my God, I feel like I need to put together this resume for meeting a man. Okay. Just want to know if we're going to get along, or if you're way out there and I'm over here. And, I mean, God, what time and heartache it may cut down on,
It can be it can be a simple formula. It can be a simple formula because it relates to everything, and you can cut out an awful lot of everything. I mean, people's time. I always say to people, time is your most valuable commodity in life. You can always have more money, but you can never ever have more time. And every minute of every day, you should grasp it. You should make something of it. And I had a client who said, Neil, I haven't got time. I haven't got time. I said, you've got the same amount of time that I have. We've all got 24 hours. It's what we do with that 24 hours every day that can make the difference in your life. And with technology, everything is a shortcut. Everything is giving us more time. Work I used to do with big blue chip companies, and I used to deal with marketing executives, and they say to me, "Oh yeah, this new product, it saves time." I said, "Okay, great, it saves me time. Where do I put this time? Where do I bank this extra time you've saved me?" He said, "Well, you can't do that." So, well, you don't save me any time. We're in an environment where everything has to be done straight away. Let's get it done now, and everything else. But the reality is, all you have to do is just step back and go, actually, I can find shortcuts to create more time in my life for me, rather than trying to create time for somebody else. And I'm a 5:30 guy every morning. I'm up at 5:30. I do my workout every day. I start myself, get my body rocking every morning, and then I get on with my day. I use the whole day. I sleep like a baby, but I'm an early guy, early riser guy. So being up at 5 a.m. this morning wasn't too much of a hardship for me. But yeah, time is so important to us, but we have to find ways of using that time in the right way.
Well,
I think,
when
yeah,
you're busy, and you love what you do, there's always something to do.
yeah,
Always.
and there's lots of
Even,
distractions. There's lots of distractions.
but then that's, being being a self-starter. And if you love, again, what you do, it's not a job.
Exactly. It's just, that's your life. That's you
Uh,
doing what you love. And if you can do what you love every day, why wouldn't you do that?
oh,
I
exactly. And I love listening to you go through the list because I go, oh my God, got it, got it, got it, got it, got it. But I own a rock shop. I have a free healing center, and I make my own products. It brings me joy to take people out of pain, and everything you described, I'm going, bingo. Oh my God, and but I love what I do. So it's not a job. It's not like,
yeah,
oh my God, I got to go in today. But then again, I have to say, on my door, I say, don't come early, don't come late. You'll probably catch me with spontaneous days off.
yeah, that's the way you should live. And I think a lot of people would say that that's the life they want. It's the
Well,
life that they can't get to. But that's when I say it's the life they can't get to. What I mean is that they put that as the reason why. We always have stories as to the reasons why we can't do something. We can't lose weight because I can't get that job because I can't just go out and be an entrepreneur because and all the becauses stop people from being what they really could be and what they could really do. And it comes back to what they're valuing in their lives. And if they wanted to, if some, we all come into this world in the same way. We come in, we don't have a thing to our name, and we all come into the world. We all have the opportunities, and I know stories of guys that have come from real hardship who've become billionaires. And you kind of think, yeah, but they had the same opportunities as everybody else, and it's what we do. But unfortunately, as we tend to tell ourselves we can't do something, and there's always a reason. We can always find a reason why we can't do something, but we don't find a reason why we can do something. We always focus on, I can't do that because I haven't got enough money, because I can't lose weight, because I can't go down to the gym, because we always have these reasons why we can't do something. We tell ourselves these stories, and we tell ourselves the stories enough times. Well, it must be true. It must be true. And we convince ourselves, because the mind will take any information you give it and will keep it and turn it into fact, whether it's right or wrong. It does it, and I know that from the days when I was certainly when I was drinking, and I could convince myself of anything in that state, and my brain would just go to mush. So I don't drink now because I don't like that feeling anymore. But it's the same when when I deal with people who have suicidal thoughts. It's because they're telling themselves things, and well, my life is rubbish, and my life is worthless, my life is, and they're telling themselves this over and over again. So it gets to a point where it becomes fact. So we tell ourselves, if we tell ourselves a story over and over again, we will convince ourselves, well, it must be true. And that stops you from evolving and being what you truly want to be in life. Whereas, like yourself, like me, we love what we do. And because we love what we do, that's the story we tell ourselves. And we're going to carry on loving what we do, and we're going to do it more. And I think that a lot of people stop loving what they do. They wake up on a Monday morning and look at the clock when the alarm goes and go, oh, I've got to go to work today. If you hate what you're doing and you don't want to do it, stop doing it. It's a simple
Well,
thing.
but we're back into an economic climate, and I was in England a long, long time ago. Oh my God, 20 years ago, and the climate there was everybody was afraid of losing their job, and if a child got a job after high school, it was front page news.
Yeah,
And when I went through your country, I'm going, oh wow, this isn't the United States yet. Okay, however, now here we are. People get lousy jobs that they're really not happy with because they're afraid they're not going to get anything else. I also believe that children are not allowed to develop their gifts, what they came in with. And I think if they were, that would be their job in life because they do it well.
I would agree with you there. Is it? I had like I have a youngest son, my youngest son, and he's very very much like me. Which I'm now pleased to say. Yeah, he's very very much like me. He's very much I have to go out and do it for myself. When he left school, he went out and he got a job, and he worked in a hardware store. But he knew that wasn't what he wasn't going to work in a hardware store for the rest of his life. But he went out and got a job, and he did what he had to do. And sometimes people will sort of go and say, right, oh, I need to find a job. Okay, well, where have you looked? Well, I've sent a few resumes out, and I've made a few calls, and that's what I've done today. Well, that's not enough. You have to do more than that. You have to be prepared to do more than that. And that's why when I made reference to people that have come from hardship that are now billionaires, they weren't given the money. They worked really, really hard for it. And it always makes me smile when you look in the music industry about overnight sensations, overnight successes. All these pop stars are suddenly, they've got millions and millions of dollars in the bank. They drive around in swanky cars, got swanky houses. You don't realize it's taken them 15 years for that overnight success. So when people actually apply themselves to what they really love to do and what they really want to do, success will come through very, very quickly because they love what they do and the opportunities are there. 99% of the reason why people don't do what they do is because they stop looking, they stop trying, and it's that last 1% that can be the difference from a completely fulfilled life or staying where you are at the bottom of the pile. I'm a believer that there's an opportunity for everybody. It's just a case of going out and doing it. Using a sports metaphor, nobody becomes the number one in any sport by just overnight turning up and sort of just there you go, I've done it. No, they've done all the hard work. They've done the groundwork. They've made their way through things. They've committed to it. I look at I'm a well, I'll use the soccer metaphor from an American point of view, but yeah, so the soccer player Cristiano Ronaldo, number one footballer in the world. He's recognised as the number one football player in the world, but he doesn't. He still sees room for improvement. And when you have the attitude in your life that I've got to constantly improve, I've constantly got to grow, then you're back into the human needs. He sees that yes, he is significant. Because of what he does for a living, but he's constantly trying to improve. So for him, growing as a person and growing as a player is more important to him than variety in his life. That's where it is. And most sports people would be the same, whether it's on a bicycle, whether it's in a car, whether it's on a sports pitch, whether it's on a track. They're always trying to grow. They're always trying to get better. And that's unfortunately why we have sports cheats, because they don't want to do the hard work. They just want the results today. And that's not the way the world works. That's not the way that Mother Nature, in her infinite wisdom, put the planet together. And she basically said, no, you have to work at it to get what you want. So you've got to put the time in. And so that's where the opportunities are there for people. The opportunities to have a business, the opportunities to get in any area of field, more so now than ever before. If you go back 200 years ago, in the UK, we still had poorhouses. We still had the Victorian way of living. We had slums. We had all of those things 200 years ago. Thankfully, they will never go back to that. But 200 years ago, it's not that long. When you look at it in the time of the man's been on the planet, it's not a long period of time. But we've changed so much, and we have to keep doing that and evolving as people. But also taking into consideration about how our actions affect other people. And sometimes actions will affect somebody's mental health. And going back to mental health I had a lady who came to me with depression, and she said, well, it all started at work. And I said, well, what happened? She said, my manager shouted at me because I made a mistake. And when you make a mistake, you start to feel anxious. So if you don't make the mistake again, so you start to get that anxiety starts to build up. And then eventually she got to a point where she felt depressed and she couldn't go to work. So she didn't love what she was doing. So she stopped going to work. Then they called her in and said, right, there's a problem. But they didn't see it as a mental health problem. They saw it as a performance problem. So we then step back and say, okay, well, actually, that was when it happened. How are we going to resolve that? And when you actually step back and go, yeah, this is the reason why your anxiety started. Well, let's take it out of the equation. It never happened. How does that make you feel? Well, actually, I've got no reason to feel depressed. Okay, great. Well, you're not depressed anymore. I'm sort of summarizing the whole treatment there, but that in essence is what we said to her, and she basically said, yeah, well, why am I depressed? I don't need to be depressed. I have a fulfilled life. I have great friends. I have a great community. I have a family. I have a daughter. All of these things started to feel important to her. So when we went back to the 6 human needs, what was important to her, she sort of went, yeah, that makes sense. And actually, Neil, that's never going to happen to me ever again. I'm never going to let anybody make me feel anxious about what I can do. In actual fact, I'm going to go out and do what I do for myself. And she started the whole process of working for herself and loving what she does, going back to what we were saying before. It's important, and nothing stops you. The only thing that stops you is yourself. The only thing that's going to stop you from growing, developing, becoming more than you are today is you. Nothing else. We can all put the reasons why we can't, tell ourselves those stories again of why we can't become more than what we are today. Those stories are, you can keep telling yourself those. You have to change your story. You have to change it. Start saying to yourself, no, I'm not going to do that anymore. What I'm going to do, I'm going to do this. And this is going to be my life, and that's going to be my focus. You have to change the language. So you don't say, I can't do something. You say, okay, I need to find a way of how I can do something. And once you start finding the ways to do something, again, Mother Nature in her infinite wisdom starts giving you things, starts sending you signs, starts making you feel better, starts changing the way you live your life, and your life improves and improves. And it's a constant thing. So for me, everything comes back to the human needs, whether it's on a mental health basis or whether it's a career, whether it's a life, whether it's the amount of money that you've got in your bank account. How many noughts do you want? Make the decision. If you want it, okay, but you're going to have to work for it. There are no shortcuts. Everything comes to people through hard work. Those overnight sensations don't exist. It took hard work to become an overnight sensation, and that's the same in life. You can become an overnight success, but it'll happen with hard work. When somebody, I a guy who said to me, he said, Neil, I was at an event and I spoke, and he came to me and said, Neil, that's brilliant. Absolutely loved everything you said. Very motivational, but I don't need motivation. And I said to him, I said, no, you don't need motivation. He said, well, how can you tell? I said, because you're about 25 pounds overweight. And he said, what do you mean? And I said, you're 25 pounds overweight, so you're clearly motivated to eat more food than your body can consume. I said, but I'm not interested in that. I said, I want to know why you do that to yourself. Why? What are you telling yourself that means that you're doing that? And he started to tell me his story. And then the story of why he overeats, why he has a huge breakfast, why he has a big lunch, why he has a big meal, why he drinks alcohol in the evening every single night. That's why he's 25 pounds overweight. Once we got to the core of the problem there, within 3 months, he actually ran the Brighton Marathon this year. And he lost all of the weight. He lost about 35 pounds, actually. So he lost all of the weight. But he was telling himself the stories of why he was eating. I need this. I need a couple of drinks at night just to relax myself after work. Oh, well, I haven't got time to make myself a healthy lunch, so I nip down to McDonald's every lunchtime. So that whole lifestyle, he was telling himself the reasons why he couldn't do the things, why he was eating. And once we actually got down to it, he could. It was just the way that he was telling himself this story constantly over and over again. And a little bit, that's kind of my approach to things. I tend to be a little bit more, let's find out why you're doing it. Don't give me the reasons why, I need it either. No, let's get behind what's really going on. And that's the same when I had a lady who came to me again. She said she was depressed, and I sat her down in my office, and I used an old trick, a trick that I got taught. She started telling me all about why she was depressed and telling me all the stories of reasons why I'm like this because. And I turned around and I shouted at her and I said, we haven't, in a very loud, I've got quite a loud voice when I need to. And I just said, we haven't started yet. In a loud voice, and she sort of switched in a second. She went, oh, Neil, I'm ever so sorry. I didn't realize we hadn't started. And I said, look, you're not depressed. You're putting yourself in a depressed state. And that's the other side of things. We put ourselves into a particular state of mind. We start to think in certain ways. We start to process things in certain ways which aren't positive. We're always looking at the negative reasons why we can't do something when we should be looking at the positive reasons. And we can embed ourselves into a mental health situation that is of our own making. And that's where my particular stance is. I'm very much on the sort of the nurture side of mental health rather than nature. So the nature side of it is all about the chemical side of things, a chemical imbalance in the brain and the body. Whereas for me, I see it as very much more, it's about the nurture. So the environment, where you put yourself, your view of the world, significant emotional events that happen in your life that will create the reasons why you're living your life in a particular way. And I know people that, that have gone through things like medical treatments that have changed the way that they live their lives completely, and that view of the world.
Do you have very many people come to you that have seen other doctors who have put them on various drugs with really wild side effects that's probably affecting their mental health? And do you have ways of helping them see it and maybe weaning them off of those?
Yeah, I met a lady, how long was it? About 18 months ago, and again, there are people who have peculiarities, and I just warmed her because she was such a lovely, warm person. And my wife was with me when we met her, and then we became friends. And then her partner got in touch with me and said, she's gone into a clinic. And I said, oh, I didn't realise that there was a real problem. And he said, yeah, she's gone into a clinic. She's been in and out of clinics for over a period of about 3 years, and nothing seems to be happening. They just give her drugs. And I just said, okay, fine, let's have a conversation. So I sat down with her and tried to get to the core of what her problem really was. And once I got her to change her view of her world, so the story that she told herself was why she was behaving in the way that she was. So from the clinic's perspective, the easiest way was to, well, let's give you a pill. You've got a chemical imbalance, so therefore you need to take a pill. And when I actually said to her, you don't need to take the pill. What you need to do is change the way you're looking at the world and your thoughts. And we actually ended up, she was in her early 60s. And we actually went back, and it was 34 years previously that she had, that everything had started. And it all started with a relationship with a guy in Australia. And she kept going back to that relationship, but that doesn't exist anymore. But she kept looking at her life of what could have been, and that got her into the state that she was. So just by spending some time and talking with her, I was able to change her view of the world. And she went, yeah, you're right. I now need, at this point in my life, I need to stop thinking about that, and I need to find something else to focus my energies on. And that So she hasn't been back in the clinic since I spoke to her. So that's, as I said, it's about 18 months ago. So she's off the tablets, if I use that term. She doesn't take medication at all anymore, and her life has improved. You know, she's at the sort of midpoint of her life, and her life is improving, and that's a great thing. But she spent 34 years in pain because of a relationship she had 34 years before that didn't work out, and she was living in the past. You know, I'm a firm believer: learn from the past, but don't live there. You know, you have to live in the future. You know,
Now,
and if you plan for the future, that's where your life's going to go.
do you ever do any phone work? Yeah, you're in England. If somebody from the United States wants to get a hold of you guys to do work, how?
Yeah, I've got clients in Hong Kong. I've got clients in Australia. I've got clients in the US and Canada. So yeah, we cover the globe. It's big enough. I mean, the UK is big enough, believe you me. But we do have people that we do phone work with, because sometimes technology is great. I mean, the fact that here we are, you know, it's 5, 6, nearly 6 a.m. in the UK, and wow, that hour's gone quick, by the way. So it's 6 8. It's nearly 6 a.m. in the UK, and you know, and it's 8 hours your time back behind. So yeah, technology has enabled us to be able to calls like on Skype calls and the like. So we do that, yeah, all the time.
Oh God, I live on an island. I'm in Hawaii, so I've got to do those. So how can they get a hold of you, Neil?
The easiest way is through my own. The easiest way is to pick everything up from my own website, which is neil-walker.com, and that leads to everything else. And then my contact numbers and details are on there. And then if people want to do through Skype, it's Neil Walker 47, but Neil is spelled Neill, so it's 2 L's in Neil. So Neil, you can do Neil Walker 47 is on Skype. So if people wanted to drop me a line or contact me through there, I'm more than happy to do that as well.
And you're on Twitter?
I'm on Twitter. It's Neil Walker 47.
I think we have, let's see, maybe about 7-8 minutes yet left. What is most important to you that you want to get out to people?
My kind of mantra is, you know, that life is for living. Whatever your position in life, you can always make an improvement. You can always make one change. You make one change, it will lead you to a completely different destination. You know, for me, stop drinking, my quality of life went through the roof. You know, just by stop drinking. That's one change I made to my life. You know, smiling at people every day rather than ignoring people every day. Getting up 25 minutes earlier than you used to, and doing a little bit of exercise every day. That will improve your whole day. So making a small change and constantly trying to improve your life is what I talk about all the time. If people focus on their outcome of what they want to do, where they want to be, and go for it and take action, but don't take a little bit of action. I'm a huge pusher of saying to people, you need to take massive action. The reason why I say that is if you take massive action, you will get massive results in return. You know, if you just try a little bit at the beginning, you know, to run a marathon, you can't run a marathon first day of training when you go out training. You have to do little steps, and then they go into big steps, and that gives you momentum. But the first thing you've got to do is actually start taking those steps. So you've got to take some action, and make that decision to change, make that decision to live a full life, make that decision to be more than what you are. You know, go out there and do it. Don't hold back. Don't tell yourself the story that you can't do something, because tell yourself the story, I can do it and I will do it, and this is the reason why. You know, if you want to stop drinking, stop smoking, you want to lose some weight, you want to, you know, all of those things, give yourself the reason why. Think about what you're going to look like in 6 months' time if you lost 20 pounds. So it won't happen overnight. You know, you'll start out on that journey, and eventually, by making that one change, you're looking at yourself in the mirror in 6 months' time, and you go, "Wow, I look amazing." You know, and that's what people need to be doing with their lives, not sitting there saying, "I can't do it because." You know, it's too easy to say that. You need to put a little bit. You've got to put that little bit of action in, a little bit of determination to make the changes in your life, and if you make those changes, anything can happen. As they
Now,
say, you take. Go on.
do you have people do mantras at all to help them stay in that positive mind frame?
Yeah, I every day when I start my workout, I start out by saying, today's going to be a great day. 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 And I just keep saying that to myself while I'm doing my workout. And I know that the day is going to be a great day. And that sets me up. It's some people have long ones. I have my brain works in a certain way, so I keep it nice and short. But I do a crazy workout for 30 minutes that really gets me set up for the day. But and while I'm doing that, that's about the only thing I can get out. So yeah, I just know today's going to be a great day. Today's
Well,
going
I
to be a
can
great day.
see you doing that while you're exercising. It's got rhythm. Okay. Yeah, I see it. But it's simple, and it's simple solutions for complex problems, and it doesn't have to be complex to solve something.
No, absolutely, absolutely. If you just decide to make the change, you can change anything, and it'll improve the quality of your life to unbelievable levels. And that's all it is. And whether it be in your personal life, whether it be from a mental health perspective, or whether it be in your career, your business, whatever it may be, just make that decision and just go for it. Just go for it. The only thing that holds you back is yourself.
I love that. That's so, so true. Thank you so much for coming on the show tonight. And you're right, you can talk a full hour.
I did warn you.
But you did it so well. I allowed you.
Thank you so much. It's been a real pleasure. It really has.
It's what I call a mutually beneficial experience. So what is the name of your don't you have a mental health building?
No, so the mental health centre. It's
Center, sorry.
we're in the Castle Hill House in Windsor. So we are right opposite Windsor Castle.
I'm not going to touch that one. Did anybody over there come over for help? I'm just saying. We've got a few people in our country I'd love to send over to you. And one of them wanted to ride in your gilded cage that the Queen has, which I thought was, wow, gosh.
Apparently that's not happening. I believe he's going to France instead. Which is an interesting one.
I'm surprised, and yeah, but we won't get into this because God, we could probably talk that for a long time. Thank you again so much. That's the end of the show. Guys, we're on iHeartRadio. You can, check us out there. And again, we're on SoundCloud and all those really cool places if you want to check us out and do the archives. And of course, YouTube. Check out Cathy Bilsky, and I've got all my shows up on there. Again, thank you, Neil, for showing up and really sharing. I think you gave us a lot of important information tonight. And with that, I'm saying thank you very much.
Thank you, Cathy. It's been a real pleasure.
All right. Aloha, everybody. And for those of you in the United States, come on, it's holiday weekend. So be really, really careful. Okay. All right. Aloha.